We're ready and rocking.
We're ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's saying. So Hunch is a NASA program. It started about 5 years ago. It stands for High Schools Uniting with NASA to Create Hardware. Our primary goal is to make life better for astronauts. You're gonna still write all that down. It's gonna take us an hour to get through all this.
Okay. So who is involved? How many students do you have? What are they doing?
There are 16 high schools across the nation that are in this. They expanded and put 3 more in this year. There used to be 13, and it started with 1 5 years ago. One became 5, 5 became 10, 10 became 13, and 13 became 16. So it's growing at roughly like 3 schools a year. At Platteville, we've got probably, I'd say 15 kids, plus or minus, that are involved. I can take 4 down to, we're going to test our experiment down in Texas in April, and I can take 4 with me. And 3 of those 4 will actually fly in a zero-G plane to
Cool.
Yeah, because our experiment has to go, our goal is to put it on the space station, actually get it in space and bettering astronauts' lives. But before you can put it up there, you have to test to see if it works, because it costs per gram, per paperclip, it's like $200,000. I did the math for me so I changed Matt Heer's weight of 175 pounds into grams, and I multiplied by that, and it cost me $2.7 million to put me in space. So before they go putting anything up there, they have to make sure it works, because it's like a monumental waste of money if it doesn't.
So what have you done so far?
We figured out who the leadership is, who the 4 people are that are going to go down there. We have met with our program director. Our program director is from Montana. She came out and visited us to get us started. We had a meeting with all the parents just to share with them exactly what their students are getting involved with. I met with the school board to show them what it was, and simultaneously asked for funding. And we brainstorm what we're gonna do, because that's hard. It's so open-ended. It's almost like it's too open-ended. They're like, do something with space, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
That's up to you. And it's debilitating. You're like, it could be anything, literally anything. And the 13 schools that I was involved with last year, it was all over the board with stuff they were doing. So I was like, just to figure something out, that's the hardest part, so.
Yeah. And who are the people that are going up?
It's Max Frommelt, Caitlin Cario, Dean Leffelholtz, and Mike Donovan.
Okay. So what is your role in this process?
My role is the advisor. So when they have questions, they can ask questions, but it's intended to be entirely student run, from the leadership, setting down the goals and the deadlines, and everything is all supposed to be student kind of oriented. So my role is to just kind of stand back, and I try to anticipate problems that they're going to have before they have them and help them in any way that I can. But sometimes, I really struggle wanting to be too involved.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my 3rd year doing it, and the first year I did it, I was so involved in it that when our experiment flew, half of the kids that did it, they didn't even care. They were like, our experiment flew, and none of them asked me, how did our experiment go? Because I was like, I spent so many hours on that thing. I was so mad. I'm like, you don't care because you didn't do anything for it. So last year, I took a complete role reversal. I basically, when I moved to Platteville, my kids were left on their own, which was kind of the best thing for them. Because we would video Skype once a week just to see how things were going. But they, not even having me around was, it really forced them to do everything themselves, which they were really successful. They did an awesome job. I had some great students. And I think this year these kids will be the same way. I think these kids are pretty sharp. They're good stuff.
So is there a time frame for this?
Yep. We have various deadlines. We had to have a proposal submitted by November 12th. So actually not November 12th. It was October 12th. So about a month ago, we had to tell them what we're going to do. That doesn't mean we had to know how we're going to do it. So now we have 3 months to figure out how we're going to do it. And then after that, then we have to put together a paper that says that it's not going to break, it's not going to hurt the plane, it's not going to hurt people. So it's a 30-page paper that you have to like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really, really intense because NASA has all these guidelines, and these are the exact same guidelines that any researcher does for NASA. They have to do the exact same. It's called the Technical Experiment Data Package. So it's kind of neat. The kids get a chance to like actually do real research. I mean, it's real research. And then we go down in April, and then we have a final report that's due in May. And early May, we have a symposium. They'll take the top 8 schools out of the 16 that have the best chance to go to the space station, and they'll have them present to NASA administration, and they will pick 3 if they're ready. They may not pick any because they don't want, like you said, everything costs money, so they have to kind of weigh. But like the U.S. government has said that 1/3 of all the experiments that go on up on the International Space Station are dedicated to education. 2/3 can be for industry and for research, but 1/3. And so this is where we get our in. SpaceX has given us 3 spots on the next flight up next year, June. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So what is the proposal?
We're gonna try to stabilize a GoPro camera.
Okay.
Like if you put a camera up in space, like when you the thing about space is that it's really hard to keep still. Like if you ever watch videos, the guys they're constantly having to like hook their feet underneath things to keep themselves stable. It's really, really hard to stay still. So putting a camera, we'll have like 3 spinning weights. One that spins in the X direction, one in the Y, and one in the Z. And because like that angular momentum thing back from physics, where you spin the bicycle wheel and it doesn't want to move, you hang it from a string. Like you get 3 of those things, and it's like stays perfectly still. So we're gonna try to make a Rubik's Cube sized object that you hook a GoPro to, that you let go of it in midair and just.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So why did you want to bring the Hunch program to platform?
Because it's awesome. It's awesome. No, it's funny. I just asked a student of mine yesterday. I've had, this will be my 3rd year of students going through, and I asked one yesterday, what does Hunch mean to you in 1 paragraph or less? This would be a good quote for you. I'm just logging on Facebook right now just to get that quote for you. There we go. He said, this is Eli. He goes to UW Platteville now, actually. He said the Hunch program was beyond incredible. It not only assured me that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, but gave me something to strive for in college. The Hunch program experience is one of the things that has kept me going in aerospace and keeps me constantly seeking new opportunities. I mean, that's why I did it, because the people who run it do an incredible job, and you get to see some incredible stuff and be part of, who gets to float around in microgravity or put something on a space station, or better, human exploration in space. That's like, I think some of the ultimate endeavors, improving human understanding.
So, how did you get the program here?
We applied.
An application?
Yep, it's an application, and I thought it was going to take a long time because it took me 3 years to even get it at East Troy. Like I applied, and I waited, and then they called me and they're like, we expanded because it went from 1 to 5 to 10, and then we were on that 13. So I thought it was going to be another couple of years before Platteville would get it, but I don't know, they let us in. I think we got lucky. I do a really good job, like trying to not only take from the program, but to give back to it. And I think that they really appreciated everything that I've done for the program. And so when an opportunity came up, like, hey, let's let Platt, because we know Matt's going to do a great job with it. Let's let him in. So I think that there's a little bit of that in it too.
So do you think, like, because you started at East Troy, they kind of...
Yeah, I think so.
So what do you hope the students can get out of this program?
I hope that they realize how awesome science is. That I hope they realize that you don't have to work for some guy who just wants to get rich off of your brain, because that's what I got out of engineering. Like, I was really good at it, and I was like, I feel like I'm going to end up working for some guy making some stupid part that doesn't mean anything in the real world, in like the grand scheme of things. Yeah. So I hope kids can see, they're around thousands of people when they go down there who that's what their job is, to like explore. And it's really, really cool to even be introduced to that. And the people there are so nice, and I've talked to 6 different astronauts. Just like what you and I are talking right now, I sit down and talk with them. It's just awesome, and who gets that opportunity? So I hope that the kids can get that. And a few of them did. I took 3 of them down to Chicago to the Space Station Research and Development, what's that called, conference. And they got to meet some of the industry and government officials. It was really cool. They liked it.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, the average high school student should know about the Hunch program? What would you want them to realize? So a kid that's not in Hunch, like just your average freshman or sophomore or whatever, who I want them to know that there's some kids at Platteville who are working really hard to put something on the space station. And one day it will happen. Like, no joke, it will happen that, like, some kids from Platteville are sending something up on the space station. And it's not going to be just, like, in the Platteville Journal. It'll be in the Wisconsin State Journal. This will be a big thing for Platteville eventually. If we can do well, you have to be in that top 3. So it's kind of a competition in a way, but it's also, we're just one step closer, every time that we meet and as kids get involved. So just know that Platteville's got they have a lot of great stuff, just so many awesome opportunities for kids. And this is just another one that they have in their belt, that makes them a really great school. All right. Let's check this out. I'll just put this on my website. Okay. It's just a screen. I just did a screen recording, but it's going to be